It's a historic day for the people of Jammu and Kashmir, viewers. After 10 years, Jammu and Kashmir is going to the polls. Now, this election is a first in several ways. It is the first time Jammu and Kashmir is voting as a union territory rather than as a state. It is also the first time J&K does not hold a special status following the abrogation of Article 370. Let me give you the details of the first phase of polling, which is underway. Now, polling for the first phase of Jammu and Kashmir elections began earlier today to decide the fate of 219 candidates. In this phase, 24 assembly constituencies spread across 7 districts of the Union Territory, 8 in 3 districts of the Jammu region and 16 in 4 districts of Kashmir Valley are going to polls. As many as 23 lakh voters are eligible to exercise their franchise in this phase, while 219 candidates, including 90 independents, are in the electoral fray. Polling is being held in 24 assembly segments. Elaborate security arrangements have been made to ensure peaceful and smooth conduct of the polls. Now, multi-tier forces from the Central Armed Paramilitary Forces, Jammu and Kashmir Armed Police and Jammu and Kashmir Police have been tasked with ensuring law and order. Prime Minister Modi also urged all to vote in large numbers. Taking to platform X, formerly Twitter, he wrote, "As the first phase of the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly elections begins, I urge all those in constituencies going to the polls today to vote in large numbers and strengthen the festival of democracy. I particularly call upon young and first-time voters to exercise their franchise." Well, this is what, in fact, the Prime Minister wrote on platform X. Now, if we have to also speak about the important candidates who all are in the fray. PDP Chief Mehbooba Mufti's daughter Iltija Mufti, who is contesting from Sirgufwara, Bijbrara, and PDP leader Wahid Para, and accused in a terror case, are among the key candidates. Para, viewers, has been fielded from Pulwama Assembly segment. Among other prominent candidates are AICC General Secretary Ghulam Mir, CPIM's Mohammad Yousuf Tarigami, National Conference Sakina Ittu, and PDP's Sartaj Madni. While Tarigami is hoping for a 5th consecutive term from Kulgam segment, Mir is seeking a 3rd term from Doru. PDP's Abdul Rahman Veeri and Sartaj Madni are also key candidates to watch out for. Now, before I delve deeper into Jammu and Kashmir elections and seek insights from experts on why they matter, I want all of you to take a look at what's been happening on the ground. My colleague Ankit Bhatt provides us the latest updates.
जम्मू कश्मीर में 10 साल के बाद विधानसभा के चुनाव हो रहे हैं। धारा 370 हटने के बाद पहली बार विधानसभा के चुनाव जम्मू कश्मीर में हो रहे हैं। पहले फेज की आज वोटिंग हो रही है और आप देखिए कि जो मतदाता है, जो यहाँ पर वोटर है, वो यहाँ पर वोट डालकर बाहर निकले हैं। तस्वीरों में आप देख सकते हैं ये लोकतंत्र का महापर्व है और हम भी अपील करते हैं हर लोगों से यही कि आप अपने घरों से बाहर निकलिए और अपना वोट कास्ट करें। जम्मू संभाग की अगर बात की जाए तो 8 विधानसभा सीटों पर मतदान हो रहा है। 3000 से ज़्यादा पोलिंग स्टेशन बनाए गए हैं। वहीं आपको बता दें कि 219 कैंडिडेट्स हैं, जिसमें से 9 जो है वो महिलाएं हैं। यहाँ पर आप लोग देख सकते हैं ये वोट डाल के आए हैं। इन्हीं से हम बात करेंगे। युवाओं के लिए इस चुनाव में क्या कुछ मुद्दा था?
हमारे लिए तो मेन यही मुद्दा है कि अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट, और यहाँ पे हमारी जो रिसेंट एग्ज़ाम्स कंडक्ट हुए उसमें पेपर लीक, और पेपर लीक जो है वो सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट इशू है। और उसके बाद जो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने एक ब्लेटेंट रिजर्वेशन 10% बढ़ा दी, 70% तक ले गए और जनरल कैटेगरी को 30% पे रिड्यूस कर दिया है। वही हमारा मेन इशू है
कि आपके लिए, युवाओं के लिए रोजगार मुद्दा इशू ना हो।
हाँ, अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट सबसे बड़ा इशू है। ऑलमोस्ट 32% अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट हमारी स्टेट में है। मेन इशू यही है।
आपके लिए क्या मुद्दा रहा इस चुनाव में?
मैं तो सबसे पहले सुप्रीम कोर्ट का शुक्रिया अदा करता हूं, जिन्होंने 10 साल के बाद ये एक डिसीजन दिया कि जम्मू कश्मीर में चुनाव हो जाएं और स्टेटहुड भी इनको वापस मिल जाए। सबसे बड़ी बात तो यह है कि महंगाई इतनी चरम सीमा पे पहुंच गई है कि एक लेबर वाला दिन लगा के अपनी फैमिली का खर्चा पूरा नहीं कर सकता है, इतनी बड़ी महंगाई है।
महंगाई मुद्दा है।
महंगाई मुद्दा है और बेरोजगारी मुद्दा है।
और तस्वीरों में आप देख सकते हैं कि किस तरीके से यहाँ पर सुरक्षा व्यवस्था जो है वो यहाँ पर चाक चौबंद है। आपको बता दें कि 3000 से ज़्यादा पोलिंग स्टेशन है। जम्मू संभाग की अगर बात की जाए तो 8 विधानसभा सीटों पर मतदान हो रहा है। कश्मीर में 16 विधानसभा सीटों पर मतदान हो रहा है और ऐसे में जो यहाँ पर वोटर हैं वो यहाँ पर लगातार पहुँच रहे हैं ताकि वो अपना वोट कास्ट कर सके। पहले फेज़ की अगर बात की जाए तो 23 लाख से ज़्यादा जो वोटर है वो रजिस्टर है और ख़ास तौर पे जो फर्स्ट टाइम वोटर है वो 1 लाख से ज़्यादा है। पोलिंग स्टेशन के बाहर लंबी लंबी कतारें अब लगना शुरू हो चुकी हैं और ऐसे में हम भी लोगों से अपील करते हैं कि अपने घर से बाहर निकलिए, अपना वोट कास्ट करें, क्योंकि आज लोकतंत्र का महापर्व जो है वो जम्मू कश्मीर में मनाया जा रहा है तकरीबन 10 साल के बाद।
Now to discuss this in detail, I'm joined by Mr. Ajit K. Jha and Mr. Ahmad Ali Fayaz. They are senior journalists. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Jha. I'll start with you. I want to ask you, how are these elections different from the ones we've seen in the past, and why do they matter?
Well, according to me, the most important part, Neha, is that in the past, the dominant theme of Kashmiri elections used to be Azadi. In this election, we heard the voters speaking, right? Right now. It looks like the elections in Kashmir today have become like the elections of India all around. Every time in India, when we go out for to talk to voters, they talk of unemployment and inflation as the two main issues. The other two issues important in this election is the restoration of statehood for Kashmir, because as you pointed out yourself, it has become a union territory, right, from 2019 onwards. So, and finally, the National Conference and PDP, they are campaigning in South Kashmir or overall in Kashmir on the issue of trying to bring Article 370 back, restoration of it. So there is no talk of Azadi anywhere in this election as far as I can see, either among the voters or from political parties. So that in a way, the agenda has shifted completely today. And look, in the last Lok Sabha, we saw enormous participation by voters. This time in assembly elections, we saw open campaigning like the rest of the country, like a mela is going on in Kashmir. Now that makes the entire situation very different, very conducive to democracy. There is an attempt by the central government to absolutely, get rid of sort of terrorism. We have seen that in Jammu, especially in the last 2-3 months, the kind of operations going on. So I think for the first time, we have a very positive election. In South Kashmir, we have a main fight, if we consider two parties, the PDP and the National Conference. In Jammu, if we consider the main fight between two parties, it is BJP versus Congress. But the interesting thing, the X factor is, there are so many independent candidates this time, and we saw that in the Lok Sabha, number of independent candidates had won, right? So as a result, it is very difficult to predict the election, but the trend is that the main fight, as I said, is for the issue of restoration of statehood.
All right.
And the other poll issues of unemployment and inflation. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Mr. Fayaz, I'll come to you. In your view, the return to statehood and Article 370, are these the only two dominating issues, or, are there some other key factors that will influence voter turnout in these elections?
As far as the traditional political parties are concerned, I mean, the National Conference and the PDP particularly, they have been calling for it. It's clearly their slogan, restoration of statehood and restoration of Article 370. But as far as Congress is concerned, they are not speaking about Article 370. They are committed to restoration of statehood only, which interestingly is Home Minister Amit Shah's own commitment on the floor of the parliament. This is an issue among these parties, but interestingly, this time, for the first time, as our colleague said, that the separatists are also participating in these elections for the first time after 1987. Jamaat Islami and some other people whose past has been who have been associated with separatism in the past. They include Engineer Rashid, they include Sarjan Barkati, and a number of Jamaat Islami leaders. They people are also participating in the elections, but they are not saying simply about this restoration of statehood and Article 370. Their main issue, which we hear everywhere, is that they're saying that we are contesting the elections for seeking a release of our political prisoners. They say that we are contesting the elections so that the government of India lifts its ban from Jamaat Islami. These are their issues as far as these new parties are concerned.
Mr. Fayaz, let me ask you this. What does the participation of even separatist leaders in the polls tell us about the political narrative in Kashmir?
There are two constituencies in Kashmir. There is a constituency which is for India, who know that Azadi and accession to Pakistan, they are gone, particularly after abrogation of 370. They are for education, development, and for everything for which elections are contested across the country. But at the same time, there is a constituency which is in elections. They say that they are projecting India as Zalim. They say that Zulm is their main buzzword everywhere, be it Engineer Rashid or other separatists or Jamaat Islami people. They're openly telling that we are the victims of India's zulm, that is oppression, and they're projecting India as an oppressor country. So this is not going well with a particular constituency in Kashmir. So there are these two narratives. There is a sentimentalism associated with it, which you witnessed in the North Kashmir Lok Sabha elections recently. So we have to see how long the National Conference and the PDP and Congress are able to contest this narrative, and because these three parties are clearly for other issues, including restoration of statehood, and PDP and National Conference competitively also calling for a restoration of Article 370.
Right, Mr. Fayaz, continue to stay with us. Mr. Jha, let me ask you this. Jammu has been BJP's stronghold. Now, the question here is, do you think that it will be able to retain its bastion? Why I ask this is because there have been reports suggesting that even the people of Jammu aren't happy with the abrogation of Article 370 and J&K being declared a union territory.
See, the trouble with Jammu and Kashmir this time is that there are so many issues and they are very complex to unravel. Also, the constituencies have been majorly redrawn completely, right? There's been delimitation of constituency. So it's very difficult to figure out people's anger, what they are angry about. Of course, see, ordinary people get affected by issues like if they don't have jobs, if there is inflation, if a particular change in district boundaries, constituency boundaries is hurting them in terms of their work. So those anger might be there, but I still feel, as our other panelists pointed out, that on the ground, there are sort of separatists who still talk of a different narrative. But what is interesting, that during the campaign, Omar Abdullah, who, if you remember, was defeated by Baramulla MP Sheikh Abdul Rashid, he attacked because
commonly known as Rashid Engineer, Mr. Jha.
That's right, Rashid Engineer, who has been released from the jail recently. So what I was pointing out, Omar Abdullah has attacked him. He was BJP ka candidate hai. You know, so what I'm saying is
Right.
that's what I'm saying. There's a mainstreaming of politics. If Omar Abdullah is attacking a separatist, yeah, why has he been released from jail? Why is he campaigning right now? He is actually sent by the BJP, which is, I think, a good sign.
Mr.
It's
Jha,
a sign that
I'd request you to hold on to that thought. You know, it's a very important point you raise. In fact, I wanted to pose this question to Mr. Fayaz. Mr. Fayaz, I have two questions for you. Engineer Rashid seems to be everywhere. You know, my first question is, will Engineer Rashid's active campaigning, you know, he's out on bail, as Mr. Jha also rightly pointed out. My question is, will it affect the electoral prospects of the PDP and NC? And the second part of my question is, there are also talks about him being BJP's B team. Again, like Mr. Jha mentioned, do you think this will somehow blunt his power play?
As far as South Kashmir is concerned, I can say that Engineer Rashid's campaign will have no impact in any of the 16 segments. There we have seen his campaigns. He has not been able to draw bigger crowds. But as far as North Kashmir is concerned, he has pulled big crowds. Yesterday I saw him he addressing a mammoth gathering in Kupwara. I think over 10,000 people were in that. I think that was the largest ever gathering in the Lok Sabha elections in Kupwara. So yes, this is clear that he will be having an impact there. Initially, it didn't appear so, because the day he returned to Kashmir, too many people didn't go to attend his rallies at Dalina Baramulla, and the next day in Anantnag and Kokarnag. But now he is gaining a little bit of ground, particularly in North Kashmir, where he's meeting a very tough contest from National Conference, as well as his home competitor Sajjad Lone. They're fighting him, but we believe that his impact is visible in a number of seats. I can't say 14, where he had a majority vote in the Lok Sabha elections, but I can say that his impact is visible there. But as far as Central Kashmir is concerned, it has to be seen. His candidates are strong. For example, in Birwan Nazir Ahmad Khan, who was about to defeat Omar Abdullah and lost by only 1,000 votes in 2014. He is contesting their National Conference candidate. Dr. Shafi is not a very strong candidate there. So there are certain segments in Central Kashmir. We don't see more than 2 or 3, but Engineer Rashid's visibility is there. As far as the allegation from the National Conference and the PDP against Engineer Rashid is concerned that he is BJP's A team, B team, this is gaining ground in a section of the population, because this whisper campaign and conspiracy theory, this is a staple food for all political activists in Kashmir. There are takers to these things. Many people here believe that the Pulwama blast was done by India itself, though we journalists know completely that this is not true, because we have been investigating things and seeing things from very closely. But I'm telling you that these theories do gain ground. Omar Abdullah as well as Mahbuba Mufti, people have been able to dent Rashid's popularity because of this impression that he has been set free at a particular time. It was not possible for any of the prisoners to be freed and to contest the elections. This needs a state facilitation, and there are takers in Kashmir Valley. But at the same time,
Right.
Engineer Rashid has a support from the people. From the people, if we see their past, in the past, many of them have been separatists. They have been calling for Kashmir's Azadi
Right.
from India. So he has a constituency in across Kashmir. He is not famous for development, for education, for other things. He is a single party MLA from Langet. So whatever his popularity, it flows from a sentiment that pseudo-separatist sentimentalism is behind him, and National Conference and PDP cannot compete him on that.
Right. Right, Mr. Fayaz, continue to stay with us. Mr. Jha, let me ask you this. You know, the people in J&K have been waiting for 10 years to vote for a new government. Now, all eyes will also be on the voter turnout for the assembly elections.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, fortunately, the Lok Sabha elections had such high voter turnouts and thanks to the Election Commission, by the way, which has done a wonderful job in terms of new voter lists and cleaning up the lists. I expect a very high turnout, especially the campaign has been so open. The other thing, let me point out, which I find very interesting, and I still feel that how the Kashmiri elections, since 1987, if you compare, and today, how it has become total mainstream. Look at Omar Abdullah. I mean, he's a former chief minister of Kashmir, right? He is supposed to be the main leader of the national conference. But look at his insecurity. He's contesting from 2 assembly seats, Ganderbal and Badgaon. What does it show? That even the tallest leader of Kashmir is not sure of winning the election.
That you mention it because just day before yesterday, Iltija Mufti said something on the similar lines. She also said that, just leave him be, he's nervous, which is why, he's contesting on 2 constituencies. Unfortunately, I have to cut you short because I have one last question for Mr. Fayaz. He has spent his entire life covering the state of J&K. Mr. Fayaz, very briefly, I'd request you to answer this. How do you think the results of these elections will affect the push for statehood in Jammu and Kashmir?
I think that this slogan of restoration of statehood, this is ubiquitous in all parts of Kashmir Valley and also in parts of Jammu. And we have to see what has been the narrative of the Bharatiya Janata Party in the last 5 years after abrogation of 370. They have not denied it. They have said that this will be restored immediately after peace returns and immediately after the assembly elections. Now that the assembly elections are being held, they cannot stop it. I think that they will have to restore it. It will lead to the restoration of statehood.
All right. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Ajit K. Jha and Mr. Ahmad Ali Fayaz, for joining us with all of those important insights.